Yes, people, how are we all? Hope everyone's good. Leeds United, obviously, let's look at the squad. Let's go through it. We need a centre back. It's clear. Whether Rodon stays or not, I still believe we need a centre back. We still need strength in that position for me. It was linked with Eric Smith from St. Pauli the other week. A good player in that position, a solid centre back that would definitely bolster in that position. Profile is interesting. So what I've done in this video is I've spent too long trying to find for you guys and me, whoever, a centre back for Leeds United, a centre back Leeds United should sign. Let's get into it. So after all the searches, these are the names I came up with. These are the kind of the 23 that I shortlisted it down to, having watched the leagues I'm more familiar with. Of course, there's a lot of leagues I'm not familiar with, and just to clarify as well, this is EU edition, so this is not English football. That will be another video. This is the EU edition. So teams or players in the EU, in Europe, that we could go for a cheaper option if you like, potentially. This is not loans either. This is straight up buys. But yeah, this is kind of the short list, the final 23. If you want to pause and look at these players yourself, please feel free. But I've got 4 here that I really feel strongly about, that I really believe could benefit Leeds United. So let's get into that right now. Sean Adaway, now a player that, look, is a free agent, and I couldn't believe it. Obviously played for Genk, been at Genk for a while, came through the ranks at Genk, good team, prestigious team in in Belgium, but moved to, I can never say that word, Walwich, in 2021, and has been there for a few years. And this year is a very solid season. Defensive statistics are very good. His fundamentals are very decent. Defensive duels there, very high, 73%, which is one of the best in the Eredivisie. In a poor side, he's been very impressive for me. He sits at around 6 foot, 6'1", a player who, again, looking at the financial side of it, is becoming a free agent in the next few weeks. So if you can get him on a free agent, I've seen Celtic linked, I've seen Rangers linked, I believe. So he's around that ballpark in terms of teams that want this type of player. I'm sure there'll be a few championship teams as well, or around the top end, wanting this guy. He's a very solid player who I think has all the core attributes, all the basic attributes that you need to play in this system, and has the physical side to that as well, because I think it's key. Look at the technical side of the game, but I think in a Daniel Farke system, having that physical attribute to you is always a bonus. Look at Ampadu, look at Strauch, look at Rodon to an extent. They all had different types, but they're all physical players in certain ways. Rodon had that recovery pace. Ampadu had that more athletic side of it. His agility was very good because obviously he's used to playing higher up. And Strauch had that raw power. This guy is not the tallest at 6 foot for a centre back, which probably wouldn't really go with the usual model, but has a good leap on him. Is a very physically demanding guy and is quick. So has that recovery side of him. Realism, I put in the corner there. 9 out of 10. I think this one is realistic. I think it's an easy get if it's a player you want. Just turned 23 years old, so still a young guy. Yeah, a good player for me. Player that would definitely benefit the side for sure. And this is why I went with him as the first option. Just to look at his core strengths and improvements here. Defensive duels, tackle timing. So yeah, he's excellent. He's very aggressive in the tackle, and at times this can be, good. It can be an improvement as well, but that also helps to have you on the front foot, so that aggressiveness can stop or break an attack really quickly and send you on the counter. And for a lot of the time, his tackle timing is decent, although at times that can be over the top. Defensive positional play, never one of those who really ball watches. He's always looking on the line, keeping the line with the defenders, always tracking his men. Very impressive stuff. And progression, something I believe, whether we keep Rodon or not, something I believe our 2 centre-backs are capable of. Pascal can do it at times as well, and Rodon, of course, can drive the ball. And this guy has a decent pass on him, and he can drive with it. He's got that power, he's got that pace. I just feel like he needs to be a bit more demanding with it. He needs to ask it from him, to scream for the ball more, be a bit more confident, because he has all the attributes for it for me. And composure, calm on the ball. When you look at him on the ball, he doesn't like a player who's rushing to get rid of the ball. He's always waiting and seeing that right pass before he makes a decision. I put height as an improvement as well. Aerial ability, again, 57% is not terrible, not ideal. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible by any means. Fairly similar to our centre backs this season. So yeah, that's the first one. Second one. This one will be a little more tough. I've tried to mix it up for you guys. Genuinely, I could have done an entire list of Bundesliga 1 and 2 players, like 5 or 6. I genuinely could have. But the ironic thing is I don't think there's any in this. But I could have done a whole list, and I might even do a full video of Bundesliga only defenders, because that is obviously a market Daniel Farke is interested in. So let me know if you want that. There's a lot of centre backs. There's a lot. And it's so hard to figure out Leeds' kind of angle. How attractive are we to other teams? Because we're in the Championship, but we're at the top of the Championship. We've got the funding and the vision behind us. We have the potential of being in the Premier League in a season. It's hard to gauge kind of how aggressive we could be in the market. Does that make sense? That's why I've gone for a few less realistic ones and a few very realistic ones to try and get a balance, if that makes sense. So yeah, let me know what you guys want. Honestly, I can do whatever. But yeah, another name, Watanabe. Yeah, Japanese centre back. This guy is such a calming, technical centre back. It's actually impressive, to be honest. Obviously, playing at Genk, came through in Japan at Tokyo, and then came through the ranks in Belgium. Really, then went up to Genk. Been there for a year now. Went there on a free, I believe. I was very cheap, so all pure profit if Genk were to sail. This will be a tough one because obviously Genk being well, they are playing European football. Watanabe is 27, so he's got that experience in him. But you look at his defensive attributes: 52 times he played last season, 52, including the Europa League, obviously, with a 73% defensive duels success. Very good. And aerial duels, 61, very consistent. And this is what you need for Daniel Farke. Again, I've said this. I give a realism 5 just because of that side of it. But again, you're looking at these players and you look at age and you think, 27 now, you come to a team, is a team in the Premier League going to take this guy? Potentially. I've not seen any links so far. You look at a team who's wanting to get to the Premier League, who's investing a lot to get in the Premier League. Does he take that risk at 27 to work that way to the Premier League? Because any later, and when it gets to turn 30, 31, you're going to struggle to get that move to the Premier League. So if you can do it now, that's kind of my thinking behind some of these guys. If the Premier League team's not coming in for them, how about us who want them goals to the Premier League, are ambitious to get there and are spending to get there? So a player that will cost a fair amount. We're talking 5 to 10 million, I think. It'll be a big, it'll cost a lot of money. But who has all the defensive capabilities again. Just like, and look at the heat maps. And this is what's important about the heat map. You see the first guy, Sean. Look how far forward he progresses with the ball. He's a very progressive player, but predominantly that right-sided player where Rodon would be. Whereas Watanabe, tough one, it is more of a central defender. He can play either side. He has more balance in that sense. So definitely preferred the right side, of course. But yeah, excellent balance in terms of build-up, going forward with the ball as well. You always look at these Japanese players now and they're a hot property because they just seem to be so calm and technical. Every one of them seem to work in compact spaces and tight spaces. They never really seem flustered. Technical ability, passing range. Another thing I like about him, he can ping a ball out if he needs to. He can play forward through the lines if he has to, but he can also play side to side and slow it down if he needs to. Reading the game, he's a smart player, really smart player. Again, when you lack them kind of big, macho, physical attributes that you have, you kind of need this more. And he has that. From sacrificing one thing, he has gained this. So reading the game is really impressive. Defensive positional play is impressive. He's always in the right position. Defensive qualities are always there. Consistency. He's played 52 times this season. That's consistent. Played most 90 minutes in that time. So, like I said, people, this one won't be easy. But again, if you can sell a player or project, I look at some players. Van Uwijk for Coventry, who I mentioned this time last year, who wanted Leeds to sign, need a really good season in Holland that year for Heerenveen. And I thought maybe he won't come to the Championship. He might go to Premier League. But then Coventry bought him, and he had a really good season in the Eredivisie. So I'm thinking, well, the Championship does have pull. If you can show them a vision and a project and a path, and get these players. So yeah, definitely. There's definitely time. Of course there is. adaptability and build up as well. And I mean that is, again, it's about that decision making in one area. Does he have a one pass in him? Or does he have a drive where he can run forward with it? Yes. Different types of pass, different movements, very good in combination play, which is what we need from a centre back. Improvements, again, he's not got that core physical attribute that you need. His aerial duels and his defensive duels are good, so clearly in Belgium that isn't affecting him. And experience, when I say experience, I mean, different league experience. He's had a lot of experience in Japan and Belgium, but he's not really had that experience in maybe a more physical environment. Again, smart player with a good brain and a lot of technical ability. Whose core physical, if core defensive strengths are there, might not need that. Again, if you have a Pascal Strout next year, you're kind of alright in that sense. So yeah, that's another one. The third one, this is probably the most ambitious, but hear me out. Bazor. Now, if any of you guys played FIFA 5, 6, 7 years ago, you would have heard of this person because he was a centre midfielder at that time, and he had like 89 potential. He's a wonder kid back in the day. Since that time, since he was at Ajax, went to Wolfsburg, there's a few other loans in there. I believe he went to Porto, Vitesse, and got his move to AZ Alkmaar. 2022. He's not really hit that at all. He has struggled, but the last season, he had a very impressive year for AZ. I believe finished fifth and did get Europa League football or Europa Conference League, not Champions League though, which is key in this, I believe. And again, usually if this guy's 23, 24, you kind of say it's not possible, but a guy at 27, if he was wanting to get in that Premier League, wanting to move into the Premier League, this is where a team like us can be really attractive in that, attracting these players. Now plays as a centre-back, made 42 appearances last season in the Eredivisie, 72 defensive duels, percentage 1, aerial duels 53%, so not too terrible. Realism 3 out of 10. I know this one will be tough. I'm aware of that. But again, it's about providing a project. And like I said, I've mixed these up a bit. I've not gone all ultra realistic, so that's just boring. They're all in the list at the start. Most of that list are more realistic than this guy. But you never know. I look at players we bring in who did have good seasons. Look at Gurev, who was a consistent player in the Bundesliga before he came to us. So there is that attraction there. Of course there is. Ampadu played a lot of football in the top tiers. Joe Rodon, even Glenn Kamara. A lot of these guys we brought in were playing at a high level. This is a high level, but it's valued at around 4 or 5 million, so it's not undoable. You probably have to pay a little bit more. I believe he has 1 year left on his contract as well at AZ Alkmaar. That might come into it. Will be a tough one, but genuinely a player that has transformed into a centre-back and looks really good there. I have to be honest with you. A guy who had all the potential and now sitting 27 years old and might want that last chance to get to the Premier League. You never know. This is people have motivations. This is it. You provide a project for people and then they will agree to it. There's loads of players I can mention that had excellent seasons in the Eredivisie. I mentioned Van Eerwyck, Coventry, who I mentioned last year, had an excellent season in the Eredivisie at a young age as well, and came to the Championship. Fleming who did Fleming? At Millwall. Yeah, Fleming at Millwall had a really good season the season before in the Eredivisie, got a lot of goals. Went to the Championship. So there's definitely a path in the Dutch league. Players like to come to the Championship. There's probably more examples as well. I definitely think there's an angle there. I do. Realism, low, but definitely an angle, I think. And if you know about that guy, you know about that guy. If you don't, he's a really good player. He had loads of potential, so he's always got that technical ability, and I mean that in spades. This guy on the ball doesn't play like a centre back. On the ball, his ball skills are ridiculous. Like I said, he used to be a midfielder and a box-to-box midfielder back in the day when he was young, talking 19, 20, 21. So he's kept that side of it, really comfortable in possession. His passing range is excellent. His ability to dictate build-up, like I said, with that technical ability, he can decide which side the game's going, the kind of speed of the game, the build-up of the game. ability to dictate. Yeah, defensive positional play is actually decent for someone that's not played centre back much, who was a centre midfielder. Defensive positional play is actually pretty decent, and you can see I've got improvements as well, and I'll tell you why. So as a core, it's really good on the ball. It's really good. He finds areas defensively that can help you progress. But the problem is out of possession can be a little bit ball watchy at times, get a little bit tight to the man. Again, that's about understanding the discipline of the role, of course. Progressive carries, like I mentioned with Rodon, a player who can drive and carry the ball. He has that in abundance. You know, he can do that. Combination playing at the back, we struggle for me to create combinations at the back. And he's a player that could do that. Press resistance, again, we're going to get pressed next season. There will be times we'll get pressed, and we need a player in that position who is resistant to the press. And this guy is that. I think in terms of quality, from every name I said in this list, in terms of what he could be for us, I think this guy's probably the highest. He has his downsides, of course, does. Aerial duels, positional plays, physicality. He's not the biggest centre-back. He won't dominate strikers. But he's still about 6'1", so he's still got that. And yeah, he's a great athlete as well, but yeah, definitely not the big kind of Strauch type defender that we have there. But if we have Strauch in there, like I said, you can allow yourself more of a slightly smaller technical player who can be key in that build-up and that progression for me. Be a tough one, but hey, who knows? Who knows? And the final one of the four. Now this one, I'm going to describe as a bit of a gem, I think. I don't think many of you would have heard of him. I have cheated a little bit because he played in Europe last season, which means he's not a UK, but technically he is. But his loan hasn't ended yet, so technically he's still Europe. I'm counting it. So basically he's at Fulham. He was at Chelsea Youth. Sorry, Ibe Boat. I should say his name. Apologies. Yeah, he was at the Chelsea Youth and got bought by Fulham. Got sent straight on loan from going to Fulham into Hartberg. He went on another loan previously, but went to Hartberg in the Austrian Bundesliga, who finished, I believe, 5th. So they did really well this season, and he was a key part of that. I've been looking online. The guy is Scottish international. Didn't get called up for the Euros, which I've looked online, and the feedback is not happy. People really wanted him to get called up and really thought he should have done, but that's what I mean by a bit of a gem. I think he's going under the radar of a lot of people. Defensive duels this season, 70%. Aerial duels, 56%. And I'm looking at pictures of him from literally 9 months ago, and now, and he's grown a lot. 21 years old. Again, 34 appearances in the Austrian Bundesliga this season. And I saw something online that, Fulham fans talking about will he get into the side, and they're not sure because they don't know that much about him. Had a good season. So that's the talk. That's what they're thinking about. People were happy with what he did on loan. Really good loan. Grown during that time as well as a player, as a leader. Grown physically as well. And apparently Fulham are looking to sell. So for me, that is a perfect example. Again, I saw Celtic linked. That's the kind of calibre we're looking at here. He is a bit of a gem for me. He's one most of you have probably not heard of, and one that I wasn't really aware of until about 2 or 3 weeks ago, to be honest with you. I've watched a lot of footage since then because I want to know about this guy, and he's a really good defender. He's a really solid defender. He provides all the basics. And at 21 years old, he plays like a 24, 25-year-old genuinely. So, cheap realism, yeah. Again, if you've got Pascal in there, if you did sign Rodon, had this guy in there as a third, I think it'd be a no-brainer. I really do. And even as a start, that competition would be excellent because, again, you look at this trajectory and the way he's going, and it's up. Yeah, I've watched 2 or 3 full games of him literally in the last 4 hours. Well, last 4.5, 5 hours, and I'm really impressed. I'll be honest with you. I tried to choose games where his team got beat and conceded goals, but not really his fault. Yeah, a bit of a gem, a bit of a secret one that I'm very interested to see what happens with him in the summer for sure. Definitely won't be at Fulham by the sounds of it, although you never know. But apparently he's not part of their plans. This screams of one of them hidden gem loans that no one's hidden gem kind of not loans because you're buying, but one of them hidden gem players that came from the Premier League. No one really heard too much about. Hutchinson comes to mind, Amari Hutchinson. Phillips at Plymouth, who went on loan and did crazy things. For me, this guy, if you get him in, it's like, oh, where did he come from? He came from Fulham, and he shines for you, in my opinion. I was very impressed with him. I'll be honest. I wasn't going to put him here if I was not. He's probably one of my top ones targets, if I'm being brutally honest with you. Really good player. Yeah. And I've already mentioned the strengths. Ceiling, the potential is huge there. The physicality is a big guy. He's about 6'3", 6'4". Big guy at 21, believe me. 1v1 defensive battles, destroys, anticipation. He's good at reading the game for a young man. Very good at reading the game. And he's got pace. That recovery pace is really important. Going forward and going back, he reads it well as well. And pass detail. Hits the ball hard and true. I love pass detail. Give it to that man quicker. And you can get the ball across quicker and the movement is quicker. It's simple stuff. Good player. Really good player. And I think out of all these players, you could argue he's furthest away from his ceiling, but as the highest one. Plays older. His mentality is different. He plays like an older player. You watch him, he's always demanding and speaking on the pitch, and that's something that's important. Improvements, experience, and aggressiveness. He's got that little bit of rashness about him as he's a young man. But honestly, for the most part, top player for me has the potential to be. Sorry. I just want to give some honourable mentions. I know my head's in the way, but these guys didn't make it in, but were so close. And all the guys at the start could have made it in as well. But these were the guys I was literally deciding who could be the fifth or the fourth. It was so tough. In the end, I didn't decide on a fifth because I thought the four was enough. Look at the guy there, Daniel Elfadili, plays in the Bundesliga too. It's tough for him because he's more of a six, but he did play centre back this season. I just don't know if he has the physical attributes under Daniel Farker to play that role. Maybe as a six, he could be an option because he's a very tidy player. Being compared to Endo, a bit like that, a bit of a breaker up, but very good on the ball as well. João Silva, very good player, but played centre of a back five. And the two centre backs around him tended to do most things. He just sweeped everything up and played it simple. It's very hard to kind of judge. A big guy with all the physical attributes, good on the ball as well, and high defensive duels. So tough one, but I just couldn't. I hadn't seen enough, to be honest with you. Leopold Kurlefeld. Yeah, so this guy's I think he's playing. I can't remember where it is. It's in Holland. I think it's Stanley Age, which is not Stanley Age. I can't remember. He plays in Holland, but he was linked with big moves. I was watching him going, this guy's seriously impressive. He's 21 years old. But I was looking, he's been linked to, I believe, Marseille and a few other teams. So I thought, right, I'll stay out of that one. And there's this guy here, Cedric Zeiziger. Perfect. I was watching him going, yeah, this guy'd work. He's got that physical side to him. Got a tiny bit of pace. He can play the ball, good in the air, good in duels. Looks to progress. But he joined Wolfsburg last year for 5 million. So I feel like the way they're going, their trajectory, I feel like it'd be a bit tough. I feel like we'd have to pay 10 to 15 because he was there a year. I'm just not convinced. If we could get him, that would be ridiculous, but I don't think so. Yeah, and Friedrich or Friedreich, whatever you call it in German. I was so annoyed when I found out. So I do a Google search on these players after to see if there's any stories or anything. And he was under Farker at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and he's still there, 28-year-old, really good centre back. Not played as much as he would like this season. But I looked into some questions about his relationship with Farker. Farker wasn't playing him as much as he wanted. So this guy complained, and Farker said something else back. I think they sorted it, though. But I wasn't sure. So unfortunately, I just couldn't put him in. I'm gutted about that. I really am, because he would have been there 100%. What a player. Joris Kramer, sorry. Excellent pass of the ball, but just worried about his pace. And I mean, probably the best in the list, passer of the ball. Plays for Go Ahead Eagles. Probably the best passer. His technique was unbelievable. It really was. He's probably most similar to Eric Smith. And that's why it annoys me that I couldn't put in there, because it just worried me a bit, his physical side of it. Really did want to put him in there. And if there was a fifth, in terms of realism, he would definitely be in there, because I think it is one we could do. But to be honest with you, I'd just put him here because there's just some slight. I'd have to watch more, and I've not seen enough. But yeah, they're just some honourable mentions. But that's the four anyway. And remember all the ones at the start as well, people. Thumbnail. All the ones at the start. Like I said, if any of you guys want to screenshot that and go look at any names yourself, feel free. there's loads there. There's loads that didn't make that list. Some there that I had to leave out because they're just not realistic and are probably too good, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's probably most of the ones that are not in there. They're probably too high up that level. Yeah, but yeah, that's it. Those are the names I've gone with. Let me know what you guys think. I appreciate all the support as usual. I'm going to start reading the comments as you're watching this. Don't worry about that. I will be on it. I promise. This took me ages to do, so please give one of them. I'd massively appreciate it. It did take a while. It took a long time. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is a good idea? And I'll do an English one. I will. I just like doing them separate. But yeah,